Shop Sports Talk.
Oh, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Barber Shop Sports Talk with me, Nightrain-Lane, your host as always. I'm going to have a great show today. I'm going to have Eric Cerminara, good friend of mine. You know, I used to wrestle with him at his dad's wrestling club back in the day. He's a rapper now, so we're going to have him in the show. We're going to talk a little bit rap, hip-hop, all that stuff, and of course sports, because it's a sports show. So why wouldn't we talk about sports? But first, it's Christmas. Hope everybody's had a great Christmas. You know, spend time with your loved ones. You know, for kids like me that come back from college, I go see my wrestling coaches, old teammates, old teachers. And you know what I realized, because it's interesting, it has to do with the same thing, because it's Christmas, you know. It's all about relationships at that time of the year, right? And I'm thinking, I only come back, when I come back, I only see the people I want to see. I came and I saw my teacher I had in my sophomore year. And we were talking, and there was this man that I used to, I'm not going to say be friends with, but I guess he took me under his wing a little bit inadvertently, even though my parents didn't really want him to. But always said a lot of silly things, and would always talk about I should be conservative because I'm black and it'll get me scholarships and all this stuff. And that teacher just didn't like the man. I guess other people don't like him either. But me, you know, at a young age, sophomore in high school, I thought he was funny. You know, I was around him so much. Actually, a kid on my team, his parents thought that I was his adopted son, literally. But then this man, he did something. About September-ish, I'll say September, and he posted this thing, and it was, he said Barack Obama wasn't the first African American president. He said Bill Clinton was. And I was like, huh? And I don't want to get into all that, the particulars of that situation, but it alienated me a little bit. And I was like, I sort of don't want to deal with him anymore. Took one thing. And I'm not going to say I'm completely cutting him off. Still talk to him, so I'll still say hi to him, I'll still mess around with him, but, you know, the relationship, it's sort of been damaged. And he said a lot of stuff before that, apparently, but, you know, when you have that interpersonal connection with somebody a little bit, and then go out and say something like that, you know, you're done. It's just the way it is. And it also, when I came back to school too, I was talking to a teammate, and somebody, are you going to see this coach, right? And this coach, just like this parent that I always used to talk to, we had a little strain in our relationship. And I told him I was not going to see that coach because, and I quote unquote told him, I really don't like him. I probably actually said worse, but I thought he was a jerk. I thought he was arrogant, a little ignorant, insecure, you know, a bunch of that stuff. And is it petty on my part? Yes, but I'm definitely done with him. I wasn't done with the other parent necessarily, but I'm definitely done with him. And you could say it's petty. I should be bigger than that, you know, but I just will not deal with them. Because it's about relationships, and relationships, they're so fragile. It's like a little string, you know. One little rip of the cord, it's all gone. There's levels to this. Everything's all right at first, you know. Then there's, you know, some fights going on, a little missteps in communication. And then if you don't rectify that right away, the misgaps in communication keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It just keeps like to a huge divide, and the two people, they can't even talk anymore. The funniest thing about it is, lots of the times when that happens and that relationship gets so wide that two people could end up despising each other and not liking each other, not wanting to have anything to do with each other. It happens with co-workers, friends, extended family. your spouse, significant other, whatever you want to call it. Because those are the people usually you tend to, I don't want to say cut out more easier, but that's sort of the way you say it, because lots of people, they'll put up with relationships that may not even be the best with their dad, with their mom, with their brother, with their sister. Those are the people you'll deal with. You're not going to deal with your coworker if your coworker's acting a fool. You won't. It's just not how people work. I'll give you an example. Me and my brother, right? We've been known to argue time to time. I've said stuff to my brother, and my brother said stuff, vice versa, to me, that if other people said that to us, we just wouldn't talk to each other. And Lord knows that's definitely short for my brother. Because definitely the only reason he puts up with me is because we're brothers. I wish somebody at school would have said some of the things I said to him. I wish somebody would have. John would have been like, "You're done. You cut off." That's why relationships, they're so evolving and they're so fragile. And in sports, it even becomes more fragile because you have money, greed, a lot of other stuff that comes into play. It's just not necessarily a relationship that nobody knows about it, but it's so open to the world. GMs cut players leave teams, star players clash with each other. And it happens. You have egos, money, pride. But one thing masks all of that. One thing. Winning. It's funny. Kobe and Shaq didn't break up till the Lakers lost to the Detroit Pistons 4-1 in the NBA Finals. Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook didn't break up till they lost to the Golden State Warriors in 7 games in the conference finals. So winning masks a lot of that. And I was listening to Colin Cowherd a couple days ago. And he had this theory about the New England Patriots. Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, Robert Kraft. 3 highly successful men, I would say. All in their own right. Tom Brady's arguably the greatest quarterback ever. Bill Belichick's probably the greatest coach ever. Robert Kraft's a billionaire, so he's successful in some sort of fashion. And you get 3 successful men in the same room, you have clashes. And Colin Cowherd, he spoke to that. Because the theory he had, and it was actually very interesting, it was that Bill Belichick, as we know, he'll get rid of players. Doesn't care. It's a system, right? The Patriots got rid of everybody. Richard Seymour, Randy Moss, Wes Welker, Willie McGinnis, Drew Bledsoe, Ty Law, Adam Vinatieri. Everyone is replaceable. Nobody is bigger than the machine. Everybody does their job. And remember, there was all this talk in the offseason. Is Tom Brady going to retire? Is Bill Belichick going to cut bait with Tom Brady? Tom Brady is 40 years old after all. And you want to know what? Nothing happened. And Colin Cowherd thinks that's because Robert Kraft intervened with Bill Belichick. Interesting, right? And he said, no, you can't trade Tom. You could trade Willie McGinnis. You could trade Ty Law. You could get rid of Randy Moss. You can get rid of Wes Welker. Drew Bledsoe. You can get rid of all those guys. But you can't get rid of Tommy. You can't. And Bill Belichick, as you would expect, prideful man, one that's been successful for his whole tenure in New England. Robert Kraft has given Bill Belichick the green light to do everything he wants to personnel-wise, but said no to him once. You don't really think that pisses Bill Belichick off? Bill Belichick is probably thinking to himself, it's my system that wins. And I got Jimmy Garoppolo over there who's going to be a star in the making. He's like, the Packers got rid of Brett Favre for Aaron Rodgers. The 49ers got rid of Joe Montana for Steve Young. The Colts got rid of Peyton Manning for Andrew Luck. This happens all the time. So Bill Belichick is like, you mess with my roster, I'm really going to mess up this roster. You think you can mess with my roster, right? Watch what I do now. He trades Jimmy Garoppolo for a second-round pick. Now let's think about this. The Washington Redskins gave a boatload of picks to get Robert Griffin III. The Los Angeles Rams gave up a boatload of picks to trade up in the draft and get Jared Goff. But Bill Belichick, as smart as he is in the New England Patriots organization, they can't get a boatload of picks for Jimmy Garoppolo? When everybody was so high on him? Those guys never played a game in the league. Jimmy Garoppolo, at least we have a sample size, albeit a small sample size. And he traded him away for a second-round pick. Now, you can't tell me Bill Belichick doesn't know how good Jimmy Garoppolo was. Jimmy Garoppolo's been playing outstanding. Put up 44 points on the Jacksonville Jaguars defense, who we all thought were the second coming of the Seattle Seahawks. The 49ers only won one game before he got there. Now that he's there, they're 4-0. Jimmy Garoppolo's completing 69% of his passes, second in the NFL, throwing for 8.75 yards per attempt, first in the NFL, an 80.4 QBR rating, first in the NFL, and 98.9 quarterback rating, sixth in the NFL. Small sample size. I'm small sample size, but a really impressive sample size. And Bill Belichick traded him away for a second-round pick. That doesn't sound like Bill Belichick. The guy we've claimed to be one of the smartest people in the NFL. Smartest people. Does that? Does a blunder like that? Come on. I don't believe that for a second. He's seen Jimmy Garoppolo in practice every day. And you really don't think he knew how good he was? He saw him. He compared him to Tom. He saw how he competed in practice against the defense. Bill Belichick knew Jimmy Garoppolo was special. And he still gave him away. Doesn't make sense. But then we think of Colin Cowherd's theory. Belichick can't trade Tom because Tom and Robert Kraft are buddy-buddy. Robert Kraft doesn't want to get rid of Tom. Bill Belichick's pissed because Robert Kraft is now messing with his organization, his personnel. When you're successful like Bill Belichick is, you tend to be a little bit of a control freak, especially when you have final say over everything in New England, personnel-wise and football-wise. Everything. And the owner gets involved. And Robert Kraft is an owner that is hands-off. He lets Bill Belichick and the coaches do their job. But one time he intervened for the star player, for the star player. It's a problem. Like I said, 3 successful men in a room. Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, Robert Kraft. Sometimes there are just too many chefs in the kitchen. You know, you can have 3 5-star chefs, and they're all arguing because they think they can do it better and which way that should be done. People want credit, people want validation, people want respect. And this is what eventually happens to successful people that have egos. Eventually the water breaks. People don't like getting told what to do. They get tired of it. Especially when they've been empowered to do whatever the hell they wanted to do for years.